A week from tomorrow, this country will face a choice, just as we face a choice every 4 years when we decide who our leader, who the commander-in-chief of this country should be. These choices usually involve political prescriptions. We determine things like how much money and taxes different people should pay, and how much our economy should be regulated. We determine what our foreign policy should look like, and how services like healthcare should be monitored, if at all, by the government. And surely, to some extent, that is what we will be doing on November 8th. In an era of gridlocked government, perhaps the most illustrative example of this is the Supreme Court. But I do not want to talk about the Supreme Court, or any of those other issues. I do not want to talk about groping, or extremely careless emails. I do not want to talk about a foundation that blurs the lines, or one that buys portraits of its principal. I do not want to talk about Whitewater or Benghazi, Judge Curial or the Khan family. I want to talk about something even more important. The quadrennial question that this country faces has typically been, what type of America do we want to be? It is onward looking toward the future. But this year, there is a different question. What is America today? And more importantly, who is America? Is America a place for Latinos? Is it a place for Muslims? Apologists for Donald Trump like to defend their candidate's controversial statements by explaining that he merely says mean things, but that his opponent, Hillary Clinton, would do bad things. So, let us discount the mean things that Donald Trump has merely said without cause, and only scrutinize the things that suggest what he would do if elected. Trump wants to build a large wall along the southern border of this country. He wants to make it quite high, and of course he wants Mexico to pay for it, something that Mexico is not exactly keen on. With the wall built, Trump wants to round up and deport 11 million people from this country. Trump has pledged a deportation force to achieve this goal. He modeled the idea after a program that occurred in the 1950s. However, he never repeated the name of the program. It was called Operation Wetback. No fewer than 88 people died in excruciating fashion during its disastrous run. The other major policy goal is to ban Muslims, all 1 billion Muslims, from entering the country. He wants to ban an entire religion of people from being allowed to come here, a religion that contributes soldiers, doctors, lawyers, engineers, teachers, and quite a few Republicans. When asked for more details, Trump said he was amenable to forcing Muslim Americans to register with the government and even wear special identifiers on their clothes. I'd like to invite anyone watching this to go to Breitbart.com right now and read a few of the articles from the British subpage. Every single one is an ugly tale about people of the Islamic faith and of refugees attempting to flee ISIS. Whatever your opinion about this issue, how many refugees should be allowed to this country, the callous way with which this site refers to our fellow human being as little more than animals should shock our sensibilities. Steve Bannon, the longtime editor of this site, now runs Donald Trump's campaign. The site is a preview to the positions his campaign hold, and in turn the plans Trump would execute if elected President of the United States. About 11 million people in this country are undocumented immigrants. A further 3 million people are Muslim Americans. 14 million people, almost 5% of our population, stands in the balance with this election. Not since the dark days of Jim Crow have so many Americans been mercilessly cast aside by our would-be leaders as the other. Barack Obama versus Mitt Romney was not about this. George W. Bush versus Al Gore was not about this. Bill Clinton versus Bob Dole was not about this. George Bush versus Michael Dukakis was not about this. And Ronald Reagan versus Jimmy Carter was not about this. But Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump is. It is not about what country we want to be. It's about what country we are, right now. Are we a country that respects all of the people here? Or are we a country that only cares for 95% of us and are not concerned with the other? These are people with aspirations, wants, fears, dreams, experiences, successes, failures, fantasies about the first time they can hold their grandson, and bad memories of the time they had to bury their mother. Their children are scared and cry out to their mothers and their teachers about what will happen in the future. Their blood is red just like ours. They are people. Whatever you think we should do about the immigration problem in this country, whether or not you believe in amnesty, open borders, a pathway to citizenship, or none of that, Donald Trump's plan is not the right one. To round up entire communities in the dead of night, sometimes consisting of children who have known no other country than this one, and ship them off in the dead of night. That's wrong. There has to be a better way. Whatever you think we should do about terrorism and national security in this country, whether or not you believe in Guantanamo Bay, acceptance of refugees, hardline foreign policy, or none of that, Donald Trump's plan is not the right one. To label an entire religion of people the enemy, closing the gates to them and them alone, and persecuting the ones behind our gates with isolation and tactics of division, that's wrong. There has to be a better way. I have my opinion about what that way should be. You likely do too. But our opinions, while not needing to be the same, should at least be cognizant of all Americans. I implore you to consider someone, anyone you know, who is in one of these groups of people. 1 in 20 Americans. A friend, a coworker, an acquaintance, or even a stranger. Think about anyone. I beg you to reject Donald Trump's demagoguery and division. This is not an election about diversions. It's not about emails, but it is also not about any one mean thing that Trump has said or done. It just isn't. It is about the policies that the candidate who we elect would enact as the commander-in-chief of this country, and who that would hurt. Some of Trump's supporters do want to hurt, but not all. Some people believe that the government has let them down. Some people want a conservative Supreme Court. Some people just can't stand Hillary Clinton. And while that may be your intention, it is not your effect. Your effect is to hurt. It is to hurt your fellow Americans, Latino and Muslim. It is to hurt them. We do not hurt as Americans. We help. We come together. The motto of this great country is E Pluribus Unum. Out of many, one. Out of many religions, one. Out of many races, one. Out of many national backgrounds, one. Out of many creeds, one. We all stand together as one, as Americans.